Good morning, creators, and welcome to another direct event binding tutorial. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to create randomized loot pools for your games. There are many variants I'm going to go through throughout the entire video, so just stick around and you'll get basically any kind of loot pool you'd ever want from this. So the first thing you want to do is place down a trigger device. You don't really need any settings in the trigger device. We'll get back to that in a second. Next, you want to place down your item grantor. So an item grantor is going to give the items to the player. When you open this up, there are a lot of settings here that are very important to get exactly what you want. So receiving players, there's really only two things you might want to tweak here. If you want to have a randomized loot pool where everyone gets the same weapons, use all. That will assign all the randomized loot to all the players so everybody gets the exact same loadout. Otherwise, triggering player is what we're going to use, and this is going to only assign to the player that triggers the trigger. On grant action, we want to set that to keep all. Otherwise, it's going to clear your inventory. I don't know why that's the default. That's a pretty dumb default in my opinion, but just have it on keep all so you keep all your weapons. Grants, we're going to grant. You can choose whatever you need here. If you want to have just one item grantor and it's not randomized and you just want to grant all the items in the item grantor, you can use all items. But for our purposes, if you're using a randomized loot pool, you're going to want to use current item. Next, grant condition. You can tweak this. Basically determines whether or not it grants if the inventory is full or not, only if it's empty, only if there's space, only if not owned. We're just going to have it as always because it's just going to fill up however we want. Grants on cycle, we're just going to have it as yes. It's not going to affect anything. We don't need to change that. Equip granted item. If you want them to equip the item immediately once it's granted, you can toggle that on. It doesn't really matter though. Remove item on grants, set to no. We don't want to remove that from the item grantor. Give extra ammo, optional. You can do yes or no for this. Doesn't matter. Most people use infinite ammo anyways. Cycle behavior, wrap or stop. I'm just going to toggle it to wrap. You don't have to have it on wrap. It doesn't really do anything because we're not cycling. But I would toggle it to wrap just because it feels like it would fix some bugs maybe. Grant while offline? No. Drop items at player location. If inventory full? Yes. All these are good. Yeah, that's basically everything you need from this device. Next, you want to cycle to random item. In your functions, you want to cycle to random item receiving from your trigger. And you'll remember that this is only going to assign to the triggering player. So then you want to place down your items that you're going to grant the player. Let's just place down some random weapons. Like that. They're just going to flow immediately into the item grantor, so you have to walk up to the item grantor to put your items in there. And if I start the game, I should be getting a random weapon. Like so. And my bot account here did not get anything. Just trust me on that one. Now, if they want to step on it, you'll see that I did not get anything, but they did. Yeah, like that. So, you'll see it's only triggering per the player that triggers the trigger. So that might be useful for you if you want the players to pick their loadouts at any random time. But, I feel like a lot of people want to just assign all at once. So that's the easy fix. All you gotta do is set this to all, and then everyone will get the exact same loadout, but it is randomized. So if my bot account steps on this trigger here, if I can navigate to it, we see we both got the same gun and the same loadout. Like that. That's what we wanted. We wanted everyone to get the same loadout when we press that trigger. Now, if you want to create multiple items in item spawners or item granters, just create a new item granter. Make sure it's connected to your trigger, and put whatever items you want to put in here. So if you want to have one that's just for ARs, one that's just for shotguns, one that's just for heals, that's how you create a loadout or like a loot pool of sorts. So you can really customize like what's in each item granter, and it will only grant one from each of these. So that's how you create kind of a, just a loot pool of sorts that's organized into categories. Of course, we're going to put this back on triggering player. And another thing I want to tell you about is how to mass grant randomized items that are different for players. So if you want everyone to get their loot pool at the same time, but it's a different loot pool or different loadout per player, you want to place down a player counter, like so. We are going to get rid of the connection right here with the trigger. We're going to delete that. And instead, we're going to open up our player counter. So inside of our player counter, we've got a lot of useless options that we don't need for this particular mechanic. It's a great device, but we can simplify things a little bit. We do not need to compare the player counts. We do not need to transmit on player counted, but only on a signal. So keep it on signal only. There's additional options here if you want to limit to a class or a team. It should be enabled. We're going to turn info panel to invisible because we don't want to see it. You can include spectators or not. That will determine who gets a loot pool. So if someone's spectating, they can also get the loot pool, even though they're spectating, of course. Next, you want to transmit for all counted players when receiving from your trigger, like so. And then, on player counted, send event to your item granter, like so. And you want to cycle to random item. This will give everyone a randomized item from that item granter, but everyone has a different weapon. Now there's a chance that everyone gets the same weapon, but that chance is very small and it's still a randomized chance. So if that does happen, you are very lucky. Or unlucky, depending on. Alright, let's see. They got the same thing as I did. Exact same thing. We're gonna run a secondary test just to verify that this is a fluke. All right. And so I got another cloak gauntlets, and they got a weapon like that. See? And let's just run another test to verify. I got another cloak gauntlet, and they got another weapon. See, they have 2 guns now. So, I mean, it's going to get more varied the more items you have in each item granter. Obviously, we had some coincidences here because there were only like 4 items in the item granter, and I got really lucky with how similar they were. But as you can tell, they have 2 guns. I only got 1. I got 3 cloak gauntlets, and they got 2 cloak gauntlets. So, same kind of deal. It works. Now, there's a possibility you want to have multiple different loot pools. Let's say you want to have a solid gold loot pool or a shotgun only loot pool. How do you do that, So you want to place down a RNG device. So in your RNG device or random number generator, go inside. So the number of loot pools you want to have is going to be value limit 2. So let's say, I just want to have 2. Winning value does not matter. Roll time, we're going to set to instant or 0 seconds. You can pick each number once if you want it to cycle through each one at a random rate. If you don't want it to, pick the same one over and over again if it's by random chance. Reset after use, you want to have that on. Reset delay, instant. Zone direction, you can pick any direction. It doesn't matter which direction it is, but you need to have this on. Length is going to be set to the number of loot pools you have, so we're going to use 2. And the rest of this is good. And so we are going to activate this when receiving from our trigger. Actually, never mind. We're actually going to create a new trigger so that we can activate this whenever we want. this trigger is going to be completely disconnected from the other ones. In fact, it's got to be disconnected, so I'm just going to go into my devices and place down a brand new one that's completely disconnected from the original system, like that. All right, so we got our new trigger. We can name it trigger RNG. It's good to name your devices, especially in direct event binding. Otherwise, you might get confused. I'm going to take this and I'm going to rotate it so that my zone is facing inside of this box I've created, like that. So our trigger RNG device is going to activate our random number generator. Trigger RNG, like so. And then it's a simple step from here. We are going to select all of these items. So select, select, and select. We are going to cut, and we're going to paste in these little boxes here. You'll see that the random number generator has 2 boxes because we set to 2. And these boxes are going to activate these triggers whenever it's chosen. So, you know, that one got chosen this time. This one got chosen the other time. Pretty simple. And basically, when you cut these and pasted them, they automatically form their own connections with themselves. So these are disconnected, but they're connected with themselves. So if I verify that, you'll see that player counter is going to activate this item granter, and this trigger is going to activate that player counter. These ones are going to have 2 at the end. So this trigger 2 activates the player counter 2, and the player counter 2 activates the item granter 2. And of course, since you're making different loot pools, you want to have different weapons. So how do you change the weapons of an item granter? Well, you want to go inside of here, and you want to clear items. That's going to get rid of every single item in the device. And then you can go into your weapons and place down whatever you want. Let's just do boomerangs and sniper rifle, all this good stuff, flashlight, random things, fun things like that. And so now you'll see we have a randomized loot pool that is triggered by this trigger and could either activate this loot pool that we created or the other one. And of course, if you want to have multiple item granters in one loot pool, you just have to copy this item granter and put whatever items you want inside of it. But we're just going to use one for this instance because I don't really need to do that. It's pretty easy to explain. So when game starts, this bot's going to walk up to the trigger. You'll see we were granted the first loot pool. And they were granted a weapon. I was granted a weapon. Same thing. If they want to get another loot pool, pretty simple. Just walk on here. Got the same loot pool again. But they got the gauntlets, I got the gun. And we got the same one again, which is strange. Again. And then we got it. Okay, so obviously I got some insane luck there and got the same loot pool 5 times in a row, or 4 times. I wasn't counting. But I finally got my flashlight from the other loot pool. So as you see, it works perfectly fine. That's how you create a randomized loot pool for your games. If you found this tutorial helpful, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, and leave a suggestion down below for any direct event binding or reverse tutorials you want to see in the future. Have a great day, and good luck creating.